When bedtime suddenly becomes crying, arching, and frantic second winds, parents often blame behavior instead of the missing transition underneath. Skipping wind-down routines can seem harmless by daylight, but by evening your baby's nervous system may already be overloaded. That matters more than parents realize. Babies do not switch from busy stimulation to peaceful sleep as quickly as adults. A baby who looks wired at bedtime is often not resisting sleep. They are struggling to cross an unprepared bridge. And that bridge is emotional, sensory, and biological. Without help, the brain stays alert even when the body needs rest. This is why some evenings feel impossible for no obvious reason. Nothing changed except the space between stimulation and sleep. The hidden cost is not just a harder bedtime. It is a baby arriving at night already stressed and unprepared. Once that happens, every small thing hits louder. Pajamas scratch, lights sting, your voice lands brighter, and separation feels bigger. Parents usually see the meltdown. They miss the hours before it, when the baby kept absorbing excitement without enough release. A wind-down routine is not fancy parenting theater. It is a predictable landing strip for an overstimulated young brain. And babies need landing strips because their brains are unfinished. They depend on repeated cues to know when safety changes. Daytime safety feels active, bright, interactive, and outward. Nighttime safety needs softness, slower rhythms, fewer surprises, and emotional quieting inside. Without that shift, cortisol can stay elevated longer. In plain language, your baby may feel like the day is happening. That is why skipping the routine does not save time. It often borrows peace from later and charges interest tonight. You see that interest in false starts, evening fussiness, early wakings, and babies who seem exhausted but somehow suddenly energized. Parents often call this overtired silliness or bedtime chaos, but underneath the baby may be missing help slowing down first. Slowing down is a developmental skill before it becomes a personal skill. At first, babies borrow that rhythm from you. They borrow it from dimmer lights, quieter voices, slower hands, repeated songs, and the sense that nothing urgent is next. When those cues are missing, bedtime can feel like an emotional cliff. Your baby reaches the edge without a railing. Then parents try harder in the wrong direction. More bouncing, brighter distraction, extra talking, and sudden urgency fill the room. But urgency rarely helps a tired baby. A wired nervous system hears intensity as more input, not comfort right now. That is the first hidden cost. You skip the routine, then spend the next hour compensating for the missing softness. The second cost is easier to miss. A baby without a wind-down routine may stop trusting evenings altogether fully. If evenings keep feeling abrupt, loud, and confusing, your baby can start anticipating stress before pajamas even come out again. You might notice the first signs at dinner time. They get clingier, fussier, less playful, or suddenly unable to handle sounds. That is not bad behavior starting early. It is often the body asking for less input long before sleep comes. This matters especially for sensitive babies. Some infants absorb sound, movement, faces, and transitions like everything is turned up high. For them, skipping wind down is like asking an adult to fall asleep right after a fire alarm in traffic. Even easygoing babies benefit because the routine is not only calming, it also teaches the brain what to expect next. Predictability is deeply regulating for infants. When events happen in a familiar order, uncertainty drops and the body softens too. That softening is everything. It is the difference between a baby drifting towards sleep and a baby fighting invisible alarms. And those invisible alarms are real. Babies cannot name them, but their bodies react to abruptness, speed, novelty, and stimulation. A real wind-down routine helps close loops. It tells the baby the world is shrinking now, not expanding anymore. Lights lower, voices slow, activity narrows, and touch becomes gentler. Each cue whispers the same message in different forms tonight. That repetition matters because babies learn through pattern more than explanation. They remember how evenings feel long before words arrive. If your nights feel unpredictable, your baby may not know whether bedtime means comfort, separation, activity, or more stimulation again. That uncertainty can look like clinginess. Really, it is often a baby trying to get closer before losing footing emotionally. Suddenly, they only want to be held. They cry when you set them down, even though they seemed fine earlier today. Parents often read that as dependency getting worse, but many times it is simply evening dysregulation reaching the surface now. And when the routine is skipped repeatedly, the baby can start needing bigger interventions because smaller cues were never established. That is another hidden cost. You lose the gentle tools first, then bedtime depends on rescue instead of preparation alone. Maybe only car rides work now, or only feeding to sleep, walking laps, or holding through every single transfer attempt. None of those responses are wrong, but they feel heavier when a softer, predictable descent into sleep never had room. The goal is not a perfect Instagram routine. The goal is a nervous system pathway your baby recognizes by evening. That pathway can be beautifully simple. One dim room, one song, one feeding rhythm, one calm pace, repeated nightly gently. Simple works because babies do not need entertainment before sleep. They need narrowing, familiarity, and reduced emotional demand there instead. This is where many well-meaning routines go sideways. Parents add more when their baby actually needs less near bedtime. More toys, more songs, more lights, more stimulation, and more effort. All of it can accidentally wake the brain again. A wind-down routine should feel like closing doors, not opening them. Each step should reduce choice and sensation gradually. Think of your baby's day as a snow globe. Wind down is the quiet time that lets everything settle again. Without it, the glitter keeps swirling at bedtime. Then parents wonder why sleep seems close but never fully lands there. This is especially visible after busy afternoons. Errands, visitors, screens nearby, bright stores, or missed naps all leave residue behind. A routine gives that residue somewhere to go. To repetition, the body starts releasing instead of stacking stimulation higher again. You can hear the difference in crying. Overtired crying has a frantic edge that often softens only after regulation arrives. And regulation arrives sooner when the path is known. The familiar sequence starts calming your baby before the crib does. That is the magic people miss. The routine is not separate from sleep. It is part of falling asleep safely. When the routine is skipped, your baby may reach the crib already activated. Then, the mattress feels like abandonment there. Not because the crib is bad, but because the body was not guided gently enough toward separation and stillness yet. This is why some babies only protest at the last step. The earlier emotional support was too thin that night. By bedtime, they need containment, not one more abrupt handoff. Wind down creates continuity so sleep does not feel sudden. Parents sometimes think a wind down routine is mainly for sleep training. It matters even if you never sleep train. It matters for emotional safety. The baby starts sensing that evenings are guided, not dropped on them without warning first. Emotional safety at bedtime changes everything else. It shapes how easily your baby separates, settles, reconnects, and trusts the night. A baby who trusts the night does not necessarily sleep perfectly, but their body stops fighting bedtime like danger itself. And that trust is built before the lights go out. It is built in the 15 minutes beforehand every night. Sometimes even 5 steady minutes can change the whole tone. What matters most is the emotional slope, not length alone. A rushed short routine can still work if it reliably softens things. A long stimulating one may not help either. So the question is not, do you have a routine? It is, does your baby actually unwind inside it tonight? You can tell by watching the body. Eyelids slow, limbs loosen, sounds soften, gaze drifts, and movements become smaller gradually. If instead the body gets busier, louder, or more scattered, the routine may be too activating for bedtime right now. This is why high-energy play right before bed can backfire. Laughter is lovely, but excitement still stimulates the brain. The same goes for bright bathrooms, loud television nearby, or adults chatting over the baby during the bedtime rush tonight. Babies do not filter input the way adults do. Background noise can still land like foreground pressure for them easily. Even loving multitasking can work against sleep. Folding laundry, answering texts, and moving quickly keep the room emotionally bright still. A true wind-down routine dims the emotional room, not just the lamp. Your baby feels the difference immediately there. This is also why parent state matters so much. You cannot rush calm into a baby while staying hurried yourself. Babies track pace, breath, tension, and voice tone with astonishing accuracy. Your body becomes part of the routine every night. If you enter bedtime flooded, the routine can lose power. The steps happen, but the nervous system message changes completely. That is not blame. It is a gentle reminder that babies settle into our regulation more than our intentions alone. So sometimes the missing wind-down routine is not missing steps. It is missing slowness inside the steps themselves tonight. You can read this in your baby's eyes. Wide darting eyes usually need something different from heavy blinking eyes there. One state needs decompression before sleep. The other is already near sleep and mostly needs continuity and gentleness right now. Wind down helps both states, but for different reasons. It either lowers activation or protects fragile sleepiness from disruption better. This is why consistency beats perfection. Your baby does not need a flawless routine, only a recognizable emotional pattern nightly. The pattern says, evenings become smaller, softer, and safer here. That sentence gets written into the body through repetition slowly. And when that sentence is missing, babies often write their own. Evenings feel uncertain, fast, and emotionally expensive to me. No wonder some babies dread bedtime before it starts. Their body remembers the feeling before the clock does each night. The good news is that this can change quickly. Babies respond fast when evenings start making more sensory sense again. You do not have to overhaul everything. Often, the biggest change is removing what keeps the system too awake late. Lower one might. Turn off one source of noise. Slow one transition that normally feels rushed and abrupt for them. Put less pressure on the final step. Let the routine do more of the calming before the crib appears there. That way, the crib is not doing all the emotional work. It becomes one cue among many supportive cues instead. Parents often underestimate transitions. Adults use language and habit to shift activities. Babies shift through bodies, cues, and regulation instead. So when we skip the bridge, we ask babies to do adult-level switching with infant-level tools only there. That is why bedtime can unravel even after a joyful day. Joy still stimulates, and stimulation still needs settling afterward. A party, park visit, family dinner, or late grocery trip can all cost sleep if there's no landing afterward. Not because fun is bad, because babies need help metabolizing experience before they can surrender to rest peacefully at night. That phrase matters, metabolizing experience. Your baby is not only getting sleepy, they're digesting the emotional day through you. Wind-down routines work because they give the day an ending. Babies need endings more than adults realize they do. Without an ending, stimulation bleeds into sleep. Then sleep becomes lighter, more fragile, and easier to interrupt overnight for them. This is where skipped wind-down routines echo beyond bedtime. The cost often reappears in night wakings and early mornings. A baby who fell asleep overactivated may wake before fully settling. Their body never quite completed the descent into rest. Parents then chase sleep problems that began earlier. The night disturbance may start in the hour before bedtime even arrives. This can change how you see your evenings entirely. The routine is not decoration around sleep, it is infrastructure there. Infrastructure is not glamorous, but everything depends on it. Remove it and small stress cracks become big, emotional collapses fast. Keep it steady and the whole house feels different. Bedtime becomes less like emergency management and more like guidance again. You might even notice your own body relax sooner. Parents regulate better when the evening has shape and sequence too. That matters because babies borrow more than comfort from us. They borrow our pacing, expectations, and sense of what comes. If bedtime always feels like a scramble, your baby learns evenings are unpredictable. Their body braces before problems actually appear. If bedtime usually slows in recognizable ways, your baby learns nights are guided. That expectation becomes calming by itself too. This is one reason routines help even difficult temperaments. Sensitive babies especially benefit when they do not have to guess. Guessing costs energy. By evening, many babies have none left for extra uncertainty, extra stimulation, or abrupt separations at all. So a good wind-down routine protects your baby from unnecessary effort. He removes work from the nervous system tonight. That is the hidden kindness inside bedtime structure. You are not controlling your baby, you are reducing load before sleep. And when load drops, babies reveal who they already were under stress: softer, sleepier, less frantic, more reachable again inside. That can feel almost shocking. The same baby who fought pajamas suddenly melts during one song in a dim room. Nothing magical happened. Their body finally got the memo that the day was ending and nobody was asking more there. That is why bedtime routine should feel less like performance and more like translation. You are translating day into night. You are telling the baby, with light, pace, touch, and sequence, that the world is becoming smaller now for them. You are also saying something even deeper. I will not let the day end abruptly inside your body tonight alone. That message builds security. Over time, your baby learns that hard transitions come with support, not isolation or shock alone. And that lesson spills beyond sleep. Babies who feel guided through transitions often handle separation, frustration, and novelty with trust. So yes, skipping a wind-down routine can cost sleep, but the deeper cost is losing a daily opportunity too. A daily opportunity to tell your baby evening is safe, change is held, and rest does not arrive alone here. That is a powerful message for a tiny brain. It shapes sleep, yes, but also expectation, trust, and regulation later. So if your nights feel messy, do not only ask what is wrong at bedtime, ask what was missing before. Was there enough dimness, enough predictability, enough slowness, enough emotional containment for the baby's day to actually close down gently? Because sometimes the hardest bedtime is really an unfinished daytime ending. Sleep becomes the place that missing support shows up. And once you see that, the fix feels different. Less pressure on sleep, more attention to the descent before it. The descent is where trust is built, not after the crying peaks, but before the nervous system spikes so hard. That is why a gentle wind-down routine is not extra. It is often the part doing the deepest work. It protects bedtime from becoming the place all unmet sensory and emotional needs finally explode at once for everyone involved. And it gives your baby something beautiful instead, a familiar way to leave the world without feeling pushed out suddenly. That is what many babies need most at night. Not more tricks, but more gentleness before the final goodbye tonight. And if you have been skipping that gentleness, you are not failing. You may simply be seeing its importance now. The beautiful part is how quickly babies respond when evenings start feeling coherent. Their bodies recognize safety before logic does. So tonight, do not aim for impressive. Aim for quieter, slower, smaller, and easier to predict, all through the way. Let bedtime feel like the world exhaling. Let your baby feel the difference before sleep asks anything more of them. Because when evenings are prepared gently, babies do not have to fall off a cliff into sleep anymore at night. They get to cross a bridge instead, and bridges change everything for tiny humans learning how to let go safely. That is the real power of a wind-down routine. It makes rest feel escorted, not abrupt, lonely, or confusing. And when rest feels escorted, babies stop fighting it like loss. They begin meeting it like familiar relief instead tonight. That shift can change your whole evening. Less panic, less guessing, less rescue, and more trust on both sides there. Your baby feels it in their body first. You feel it a minute later in the room's softness around you. Then bedtime stops feeling like a nightly battle you keep losing. It starts feeling like guidance your baby understands better. And that is such an important difference. One path creates dread. The other builds confidence, connection, and calmer nights ahead. So if you change one thing, change the runway before sleep. Give the day a softer place to end tonight. Give your baby less to process, less to resist, and less to recover from right before bedtime arrives each night. That is not a small parenting detail. It is one of the clearest ways love becomes regulation for babies daily. And sometimes that is the difference between a baby surviving bedtime and a baby feeling safe enough to sleep deeply.